This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, as well as our flagship title, Marijuana Today, and the Green Rush and Weed Wonks shows. If you have a legal marijuana product or service to market, then you need to be spending some money with us because we will put you in front of our 30,000 very smart, connected, and accomplished listeners. We've been making podcasts about legal cannabis for more than 5 years now and have grown into the leader in the cannabis podcast space because we make good shows that help people get better at their jobs. Our audience trusts us because they know we're not just some flash in the pan operation here to grab any dollar out there. MJ Today Media was born out of decades of marijuana legalization activism and has natural built-in credibility for miles and miles and miles. We don't brook any kind of BS around these parts. To share your marketing message with the best 30,000 people in legal cannabis, drop me an email to shay@mjtodaymedia.com. We can work with budgets of all size and offer category exclusivity at certain levels. So not only can you share your marketing story, but you can block out your competitors. It's the American dream in podcast form. One more time, just email me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, October 31st, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 830 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the day's news off up in Canada, where in Quebec, lawmakers voted yesterday to raise the legal age for people to consume cannabis from 18 to 21, starting on January 1st. Most of the rest of Canada's provinces have a minimum age of 19, with Alberta allowing 18-year-olds to purchase, possess, and consume. Quebec also set some pretty severe restrictions yesterday on marijuana edibles, banning the sale of cannabis-infused sweets and desserts, including chocolate. Also generally banned is the public use of marijuana, though cities are given some leeway there to roll out their own rules. There are a lot of valuable things to learn about implementing legalization up in Canada, and this story certainly falls within that realm. Give this one a read. Keeping our sights up north for a headline, we have the Cannabis Council of Canada, a coalition of the nation's largest marijuana companies, sending a letter over to Ontario Premier Doug Ford, urging him to boost the number of marijuana business licenses up for grabs. Ontario easily has the most restricted legal marijuana market in Canada, with just 24 dispensaries licensed for operation in the entire province, versus 157 in British Columbia and more than 300 in Alberta. The government blames supply shortfalls for the low number of open dispensaries, but the Cannabis Council cited Health Canada numbers showing that the province's supply was now adequate enough to meet demand. To Massachusetts for our final top story, where yesterday a judge upheld the ban on the sale of vaporizer products imposed last month by Governor Charlie Baker, ruling against the complaint filed by vaporizer retailers. The ruling came on the same day that Massachusetts health officials announced the state's second death attributed to the use of vaporizers. That case involves a woman in her 40s who reportedly used nicotine e-cigarettes. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, as well as our flagship title, Marijuana Today, and the Green Rush and Weed Wonks shows. There are a couple of different ways that MJ Today Media can help you and your business. The most basic level is where you sponsor our shows. You send us money and we talk about the cool things that you do. Very simple. The more involved engagement costs more money and takes a little bit more time, but offers deeper benefits, with you paying us to make a podcast that is entirely your show. If you have a vision for a podcast and just need a company that can do all the things, then MJ Today Media might be a good choice. We offer soup to nuts production services, so we can help get a show running right from scratch. We're also happy enough to teach you whatever part of the production cycle you want to run yourself. To learn more about how we can help you get into the super awesome world of podcast marketing, just zip me an email to shay@mjtodaymedia.com, with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. It will be the best marketing decision you'll ever make. All right, time for the Blitz. Thomas Mitchell over at the Denver Westword has a troubling account of a series of quality control tests undertaken by the city of Denver over the past few months that have shown a high rate of failure for the presence of mold in legal cannabis dispensaries. 25 shops were tested as part of the campaign, and according to results turned up by the Westword, 80% failed, or 20 out of the 25 dispensaries. This is a complex storyline with lots of detail and moving parts, so I'd suggest opening this one up for the full dive in yourself. A new poll out of Pennsylvania shows that a strong majority of voters in that state are in favor of legalizing adult use marijuana, but that folks are not so happy about the idea of only being able to buy cannabis through state-run stores. In all, 58% of those polled said they wanted to see adult use cannabis legalized, while the same amount said that a model with a state-controlled monopoly would make them less likely to support legalization. State lawmakers in Wisconsin filed a proposed bill to remove criminal penalties for people caught with small amounts of marijuana. The bill was filed by 2 Democratic state reps and would remove the threat of jail time for possession cases involving an ounce of marijuana or less. Unfortunately, Wisconsin's State Senate and Assembly are controlled by the regressive Republican Party, whose leaders said after the bill's introduction that they preferred to keep their heads in the sand. Best of luck to the people of Wisconsin in throwing that yoke off. The Alaska Journal of Commerce has an interesting story that I think nicely represents some of the unique challenges faced by different states in implementing limited marijuana licensing schemes. Alaska's conundrum involves how prospective legal marijuana business license applicants can document local support for their businesses in unincorporated parts of the state, of which there are plenty. I have to admit that I was drawn to this storyline at least in part for the awesome name of the hopeful cannabis business detailed in the story, with entrepreneurs vying to open up the shop Token Up in the unincorporated Alaskan community of Tok, T-O-K, population 1,200 or so. In order to show local support in an area without a local organized government, the Token Up folks needed to collect signatures of support from people living within a 5-mile radius of their store, which opens up all sorts of interesting questions, starting with how exactly that is measured. Brad Martin over at Leafly has a good roundup of some average prices for legal cannabis being paid by consumers in Canada. Brad's breakdown covers Canadian provinces, with prices ranging from a low of $8.40 in Quebec to a high of more than $14 a gram in the Yukon, with all prices Canadian dollars. Another good one to open up if that sort of information makes you better at your job. Just as vaporizer retailers in New Hampshire have reported seeing an uptick in sales to residents of Massachusetts shopping for vaporizer products, so too have those in Maine, with Maine medical marijuana retailers in particular saying they're seeing more business now from the Bay State thanks to Governor Charlie Baker's vaporizer ban. There are a decent number of Maine medical marijuana dispensaries within an hour or two drive from the greater Boston area, which is not surprisingly drawing in vape customers with the means to travel. Who would have thought? Our final story this fine Thursday is a headline out of Washington state, where there have apparently been a number of seizures by U.S. Customs officials of glass jars and other legal marijuana packaging products that are definitely not illegal. Details are still a little sparse here, but it appears that the products held up by customs include unlabeled glass vials and jars, which again are perfectly fine to import and sell. This is another place where the disparity between local and federal cannabis laws creates messy situations. Maybe not a bad one to keep on your radar. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.